Okay, we'll call this council meeting to order at 6 p.m. Need a motion for adoption of the minutes.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at Stride Place on May 23rd, 2017 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Buds and second by Councillor Fraze. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no delegations this evening. Before we move into hearings, just want to congratulate Councillor Espy. He is our new Canadian heavyweight champion as of Saturday night when he won that belt right here in the City of Possibility. So congratulations, well done. Now we'll open the hearing for variation PC 2817. This is for CHP Developments at 426 Tupper Street North. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? Again, anybody here to speak to the hearing for CHP Developments? Okay, I entertain a motion for closing the hearings.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation PC 28-17 CHB Developments 426 Tupper Street North now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. All those in favor? And that's carried.
CHB Developments has applied for a front yard and a north side yard requirements to be reduced. This reduction would line the new building up with much of the other houses in the neighborhood. And the application has been circulated to various city departments with no concerns, and public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius. It's a recommendation that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of CHB Developments, Inc. to vary the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 6.09 meters, and north side yard requirement of 3 meters to be reduced to 1.5 meters at the property known as 426 Tupper Street North, which is legally described as lots 653, 654, Plan 66, Parish of Portage la Prairie, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Buds. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll open the hearing for PC 3017. This is for Dinwoody at 150 Crescent Road East. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? Again, anybody here to speak to the hearing? This is for Dinwoody at 150 Crescent Road East. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for closing the hearing.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation...
Well, I'm sorry. There is one letter of support.
One comment was received from the notice of hearing, and it was totally in favor, signed by Helena Cott at 239 Portage Avenue.
Thank you.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation PC 30-17 Dinwoody, 150 Crescent Road East now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. All those in favor? And that's carried.
This is another application for a front yard requirement to be reduced. Again, there are other houses in that area that have also received a reduction in their front yard, bringing them closer to the road. The application has been circulated to the various city departments with no concerns, and public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius. The recommendation is that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Dustin and Britt Dinwoody to vary the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 4.57 meters at the property known as 150 Crescent Road East, which is legally described as Lot 21, Block 15, Plan 21428, Parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Buds. Any comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll open the hearing for a third hearing this evening. This is for variation PC 31-17. This is for Melfat at 630 Spruce Bay. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? Did you want to come up to the podium, ma'am? And could you state your name for the record, please?
Tanis Malfay.
Okay, thank you. The floor is yours.
We've done extensive renovations to the exterior of the house, and our variation request is to add a deck to the front just to complete the appearance and give us some recreational space out front.
Okay, thank you. Did council have any questions? Okay, thank you. A motion for closing the hearing?
Resolved that the public hearing for variation PC 3117 Malfit 630 Spruce Bay now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Buds. All those in favor? And that's carried.
As we heard, the variation is for a front yard to be reduced in support of a deck, a front yard deck. And again, there are other houses in this area that have received a reduction in their front yard requirement. So this is in keeping with what is already there. The application has been circulated to various city departments with no concerns, and public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius. The recommendation is that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Tanis Malfait to vary the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 5.7 meters at the property known as 630 Spruce Bay, which is legally described as Lot 57, Block 1, Plan 1741, Parish of Portage la Prairie. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll move into Finance Legislative Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you. For council's information only, at our committee meeting of last, I did talk about the reassessment impact of 2018. The report is there, and basically it outlines overall a minimal impact. There are properties that are going to go up, and this property is going to go down, but overall, from the city's collection of tax revenues, there is minimal impact. So there's nothing to approve. It's just the information is being presented to the council meeting as a whole. And again, there were no questions when I presented this set of information at our committee meeting. So that does conclude my report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Buds. City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Dreger, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And for information only are the building reports from the Planning District for March and April, and those were presented to Council in committee 2 weeks ago. So they are there for your information and further perusal. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Fraze, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue before the Community Services Committee tonight is the discussion on the future of the former Kin Hall. I raised this issue at committee last meeting, and we had some discussion. There may not be any new information, but I think there's been some discussion in the community about the future of this building. The background is that this former Kin Hall is presently leased to the local AA group for $1 per year, and they spend a significant money in their budget to maintain the building and keep it in a reasonable state of repair and cleanliness. They remove the snow and take care of utility charges, water and gas. But the city is owned by the property is owned by the city, which is responsible for all major capital repairs, taxes, and grass cutting. There's also another informal sort of tenant that uses the basement storage area. That's the Minor Softball Association. The current lease was signed on December 31st, 2015, and continues in force from year to year with a clause that allows for its termination by either party with 90 days notice. In looking at the building currently, there are two major problems. The first is that the furnace has been condemned and will not be permitted to be used starting this fall. The cost to replace the furnace would be approximately $5,000. There's a second major issue in that the shingles on the roof need replacing. They're way past their lifespan. Estimated cost for replacing the shingles is $10,000. Operations tells us there's quite a few other major maintenance issues in that building. At the time that it was being considered as a splash pad pump house, an engineer's assessment indicated $164,000 worth of work to be done to bring the building up to today's code. That would include doing things like repairing the steps and the siding, foundation repairs. The current tenant has offered to take out a Manitoba Hydro loan to pay for the new furnace, but this may not be possible since they don't own the building. The site of the building is on recreational land, which is part of the proposed recreational hub by the Parks Committee. And they're doing a review of parks in the city, looking to create some significant improvements to the parks options in the north end of the city. And that is a site they've looked at for not only the splash pad in the past, but currently looking at it as a possibility for a skate park or other accessible playground equipment. So it's a site that's valuable for future recreational opportunities. And in light of the fact that it's currently in need of substantial repairs that may be more expensive than the building is worth, we've looked at the possibility of demolishing it. That cost would be likely to come in around somewhere around $20,000. And that's the technical part of it. The current tenant, however, has other concerns about the use they make of the building and their opportunity to find a suitable alternative use. And so they have made some fairly significant requests for us to maintain that building for their use. But looking at it strictly from the technical aspect of the building and its cost, the maintenance costs, it is the administrative recommendation that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie provide notice to Central Plains AA for the termination of the rental agreement of former Kin Hall and to authorize the building's demolition in 2018. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Fraze and seconded by Councillor Draycott.
Just a question, Your Honor, would it be appropriate to read into the record the letters that were submitted by the tenants?
Yep, that would be fine.
This letter is from the Central Plains AA. Dear Mr. Green, first of all, we'd like to thank the city for their ongoing support of the AA program by allowing us the privilege of using the building at a minimal rent. As a result of this, we've been able to provide meetings for approximately 300 people a month. Following group discussion regarding the building we rent on 5th Avenue, we are providing a list of ways the loss of this building would affect the Central Plains Alcoholics Anonymous groups. We really have no other facility where we'd be able to have meetings. We have in the past had to use church space, but we are not a religious program, and it is detrimental to us to be associated with any one church, as people then associate the group with the church rather than seeing us as a support group that anyone can come to. If we did locate an alternate meeting place, we would be challenged to pay current rent rates, as we are not allowed to fundraise or receive outside contributions. We are self-supporting through member contributions made during the meetings. There are no membership fees. Many who come to us have no income, and we strive to help them become well and to be contributing members to their families and to society. The location of the facility enables people to attend easily. Many of our members do not drive but can easily walk to meetings. Other locations that might be available to us would not likely be for our use only, and we would lose the anonymity that is so vital to the group. We provide support to anyone seeking relief from addictions. We often have referrals from the courts, Addiction Foundation, Canadian Mental Health Association, clergy, physicians, unions and workplaces, and many other sources. We do have an open meeting once a month during which a member or visitor will speak. These meetings may be attended by anyone and are often used as a way to introduce the program to others. The money we do have, we use to provide books and literature pertinent to addiction and alcoholism, to cover the building's utilities, insurance, snow removal, and necessary safety maintenance. We have all cleaning done on a volunteer basis and use commercial tradespeople from Portage to do other maintenance. We have had them replace emergency lights, repair fire alarm system, do window repair, replacement as needed, replace fluorescent lights and ballasts, maintain and replace the fire extinguishers as needed annually, do furnace inspections and annual cleaning, plumbing repairs, interior painting, and repairs. We truly value the opportunity to use this building for our programs and hope you will consider us in the future of it. On behalf of Portage Plains AA Groups, Jane T. There's an additional comment here. I don't know who makes it, but it's, to whom it may concern, my name is blocked out and I am the GSR for an NA program here in Portage la Prairie. I'm writing to you to express my concern on the topic of us losing our club room. The programs we run out of there are self-supporting and sometimes don't make a lot of money to buy literature and pay rent, bills, etc. Given the fact that we are a self-supporting group, I feel that if we lose this building, we will be losing a place for people who want recovery. We all share the building together to make as much use of it as we can. When we started these meetings, it was to offer more available meetings for the public than just 2 a week. I personally am not always available to attend the 2 that were already in place. Please consider allowing us to continue to use this space, given the fact that it's a perfect place to meet for the right price, and it's a very private place that protects our anonymity. Thank you. There's also a letter in support of maintaining that building by the Portage Miners Softball Association from Noel Cunningham. To whom it may concern, I'm writing on behalf of Portage Miners Softball with regard to the Kinsman Hall on 5th Avenue Northwest, Portage la Prairie. We've been informed that you are possibly demolishing the building in the coming year. Portage Miners Softball has used a portion of the basement of the hall for a number of years now to store our softball equipment in. The location is ideal and the space is just large enough to hold our variety of equipment, uniforms, and anything associated with softball in the past. We utilize the storage space year-round. We pay insurance on the items that are stored in this location. We have been offered a change room in one of the buildings at the Republic Park to house our equipment for the winter. I'm still unclear as to whether we'd be able to keep and use the change room through the summer months. We do not pull everything out of storage in the summer. We've also noticed that through the winter there's a pile of snow placed on the road entering the Republic Park, so that tells me that our equipment would not be accessible during the winter months if we were in fact permitted to store equipment in one of those buildings. So I'm writing to express our gratitude for being able to store our equipment in the Kinsman Hall for so many years without having any concerns. It's ideal for us and I'm sure would be useful for others. I'm hoping that you would consider not demolishing the building and finding usefulness with the other areas of the building that could possibly support the community in that area. It is, like I said, in a good location and is accessible year-round, and that is what we need. Please reconsider your position regarding the demolition of the Kinsman Hall. Thank you for your consideration, Noel Cunningham.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Are there questions or comments from council on the motion? Councillor Dreger?
Well, those are certainly heartfelt letters, and I'm sure there is a lot of value that would be lost in demolishing the building. However, with that price tag to bring it up to code, it doesn't seem to be something that we have in the current budget, and I can't support leaving the building there if it's just going to deteriorate.
Okay, thank you. Just some new information. I had a meeting with a member of that AA group last week, and so she was sharing the stuff that's in the letter, but since the time of the writing of the letter, they have had an offer of another location, a more central location. Her preference would be to maintain the location they currently have, as said in the letter, but there has been an offer made by another community group. And there was a question, Councillor Espy?
Just a comment. I mean, we looked into the lease of this building a few years ago also, and it was on a month-to-month basis. And one of the reasons for that is because we knew that this day would come where we'd have to invest a considerable amount of money just to bring that building up to code. So, as Councillor Dreger was saying, it's just a lot of money to invest in something that we are charging a very, very small amount of rent for.
Other comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Councillor Fraze, anything further for community services?
No, that, Your Worship, that would conclude my report.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Waterworks Committee has nothing to report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Draycott.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation Committee has nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. And Public Safety Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's nothing to report from the Public Safety Committee until new business.
Okay, thank you. We have no deferred business, but we do have some new business. The bylaw enforcement agreement with the RM, and this is public safety.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's the agreement for bylaw enforcement service between the city and the RM of Portage la Prairie. Just some quick points that the agreement remains unchanged for the most part as follows. Hours of service delivery will be Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., excluding statutory holidays. Response to calls for service outside the said hours will be made by the Director of Public Safety in consultation with the CEO of the RM on a case-by-case basis. The city will provide quarterly invoices to the RM for payment on January 1st, April 1st, July 1st, and October 1st of each year. The RM agrees to pay the city an hourly rate of $51.24, up from $50 for bylaw enforcement during set hours, and an hourly rate of $76.86, up from $75 for calls outside the set hours. Mileage will also be paid at a rate of $0.0475 per kilometer. Mileage was included in the hourly rate in the past. The hourly rate paid by the RM will be increased by the Consumer Price Index for Manitoba on January 1st of each year. The agreement will be in effect from May the 1st, 2017 until April the 30th, 2020. So it is the administrative recommendation. The Council of the City of Portage la Prairie agreed to renew the agreement to provide bylaw enforcement services to the RM of Portage la Prairie, and that the mayor and city manager be authorized to sign the agreement. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Espy and seconded by Councillor Draycott. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Buds?
Thank you. Just one quick question. I assume that this is going to be executed as it has been in the past from the commissionaires that we currently just renewed the contract with. Question is there an additional staff member that's being hired to service the RM within our ranks, and that will be offset from the money that's made with the RM?
That's a no.
Looks like a no.
No, that is a no. We have a little bit of flexibility. There's not a whole lot of calls that we receive from the RM. Phil, you may recall last year's count, but it was less than 10, if I recall right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's not by volume.
Okay. I just wanted to ensure that we wouldn't have a reduction in services or the possibility of proactively dealing with things in our city based on an agreement that stretches a workforce. But if you're saying it's not onerous, then it's not onerous.
Okay. Other questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We have some more new business. This is the IT service agreement with the RM, and this is Finance Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you. This is an item that was brought up at committee as well, and that is to provide services to the RM. As just like the last approval, we do have an agreement to provide IT services, and that was entered into in 2014 with the RM. It is time for renewal of that particular agreement, and you can see that it's outlined there how much the services would cost per hour, and then $75 an hour, I should say $100 an hour, with additional charges of $75 an hour thereafter when needed. There's outlined when billings would be, so it's an agreement that's worked well, and we're just looking for renewal. Should be noted already that the RM has approved this and signed the agreement, so it's just to be executed on our end. So it is a recommendation of your committee, and I so move that the council authorize the mayor and the manager of administration to sign the IT service agreement with the RM.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Dreger. Any comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. And
I'm
sorry.
going to jump in and do the next one as well. I know it was identified as Councillor Dreger under her portfolio, but I believe under finance it should actually be, Councillor Dreger and I were just talking about that under property, the sale of property, so I'll take this one, if you don't mind. So just some history. In May, an in-camera meeting of council, there was support to sell a 6-acre parcel of vacant land in the city's southeast. I won't describe the lot, but it had an assessed value of that time at $34,272 to Broad Street Properties. So what happened after that approval went through, there was conversations held with the purchaser, and they would prefer actually to pay a higher price for property if in fact it would be developed, and such that they would pay a price that would be equivalent to buying service land in another portion of our city. So they were coming to us and saying we would then be the primary developer of that property in terms of the infrastructure, and then now the proponent or the purchaser would pay $51,700 per acre, which is similar to other serviced vacant property in the city's northwest. So basically a purchaser wanting to buy from the city service land. So just to put some scope to the project, this developer is proposing a $25 million investment for the purchase of 2 adjacent 3-acre parcels on 2 legal titles. Parcel 1, a 4-story apartment building with 128 suites, and Parcel 2, 1 or 2-story townhomes. Pending the applicable approvals, they would propose to commence construction this upcoming spring of 2018. So there's some considerations. We've gone through these in the past. But basically, the city's got some work to do. The city's got to put in infrastructure and some road work, et cetera, in preparation. So this has been going back and forth a little bit. And basically, I draw your attention to number 6. The proponent is comfortable to identify conditions on the sale of property which outline the following. I'll just read their comments. Based on the tentative schedule you outlined, it sounds like the city could structure condition timelines around having titles, zoning, and a development agreement in January. So that's January 2018. This should mean that the city could start construction of deep services or our underground infrastructure in approximately March or April and be in a position to complete the Dufferin roadworks by late May or June. Our goal, this is the purchaser, would be to close on the land and start in June at the latest, so we can get far enough along in the construction in the summer to ensure that most of the building isn't done or completed in the winter. So part of the conditions obviously would be to sign a development agreement, which then ties the purchaser to actually developing the property that we are putting services into and monies into. So that was already run by the PRED board. PRED board had quite a conversation, and Vern May has been instrumental in negotiating with this organization to bring forth a significant investment, so it's a good thing. And that's why the board unanimously approved it, and why now, as a member of your finance committee, I move that the council of the city of Portage la Prairie approve the sale of a 6-acre piece of the larger 62.43-acre parcel legally described as Lot B, Plan 35396, located east of the Lions Prairie Manor and south of the Good Shepherd Roman Catholic Church, to Broad Street Properties for a sum of $310,500 plus GST and all other costs associated with the land sale, on the condition that Broad Street Properties enter into a development agreement with the city. Further, the city will commit to assuming the upfront costs of infrastructure, being the extension of Dufferin Avenue East and the connection of water and sewer services from 9th Street Southeast to the property line of the proponent's parcel of interest to accommodate this project.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Wall. Comments or questions on the motion? None? Okay, I'll make one comment. Oh, Councillor Espy. Okay.
In the absence of all other comments, this is great to see more investment in our community, and well done to all those that were involved in getting this in Portage.
Thank you. Yes, it's a significant investment, and we appreciate all the work that's been done to date on this. Councillor Wall.
I don't know if I missed it or not, but did you mention the tax revenue that we estimate getting from this property?
Yeah, there has been some calculators that were provided with this, and I think the payback was 2, maybe even less than that, years on payback on tax revenue for our investment when you include what they're paying for the properties.
Am I also correct in assuming that the upgrading of Dufferin Street and bringing the services as far as this property would also speed up the process of servicing the rest of the land in that package for future development?
That question I will defer to administrations, to JM, or to Kelly, but I would assume by bringing those services closer, that does provide us with more opportunity, but I will defer that.
Certainly, thank you for this. The intent is to have a plan of subdivision for the rest of the 57 acres after that. So you're absolutely right, it will give us an opportunity to promote that land.
And the sewer lines would be large enough to service future
Correct.
project.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And that concludes that report.
Thank you. We have no old business, so we are adjourned at 6:31 p.m. and we'll move right into committee. And we'll call committee to order at 6:31 p.m. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Budds, please.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Dreger.
Just one item on the agenda tonight to consider and possibly discuss. It's an application from Gordon and Marlene Ritchie to subdivide their lots. Their lot is currently 10,598 square feet, and they are requesting to subdivide 3,889 square feet from what the lot now is. And this is for residential purposes. So the proposed lot is serviced by municipal sewer and piped water and is accessed off a municipal road. And Community and Regional Planning have conditionally approved this already. And the applicant has yet to obtain a municipal approval prior to completing the other conditions of this subdivision. Now, Mr. Brooks, will that happen before the end of, or before next council, that they obtain the approval for their other conditions?
Some of the other conditions are met already.
They have been met? Okay. Is there any questions? Any other questions from council? If not, that's what we'll be voting on at council meeting on the 4th Monday of June. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Dreger. Community Services Committee, Councillor Fraze, please.
Thank you, Worship. Community Service Committee has nothing for tonight.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Yes, Your Worship. Coming up at the next council meeting will be the award of tender 17 OPS 022 for the disposal of lime sludge and waste residuals for the City of Portage Water Treatment Plant. Tender was advertised in the City of Portage la Prairie website, on the MERC's website. 12 packages were issued, 4 were returned. Tender opening was Thursday, June 1st, 2017. And the following bids were returned. Terravita Corporation, $1,009,512. Messett Construction, $1,079,568. EF Moon Construction, $1,102,248. Assiniboine Injections Limited, $1,491,682.50. The work involves the loading and transportation and final disposal of an estimated 48,000 tons of lime softening residuals and other water treatment residuals from the water treatment plant solid settling pond. The dry residual waste material is likely greater than 90% calcium carbonate with a small fraction of organic matter and very small fractions of aluminum and iron coagulant compounds. And so that will come up for discussion and vote at the next council meeting. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Transportation
Quick
Committee.
question on that.
Sorry.
Councillor Wall, do you know if Operations has any experience in dealing with Tervita Corporation? I do believe that our supplier for doing this for many, many years was Assiniboine Injections.
Well, Assiniboine Injections has been doing the sludge from the wastewater plant for many years, and they did some of the lime sludge removal as well. At that time, they were using that lime sludge as a pH adjustment in farmland in some areas. We are not able to use the lime sludge for that purpose this time without environmental approvals, which would take much longer than the time we have because we're full of lime sludge and we have to get this out. So this lime sludge will be hauled to the Portage Regional Landfill, where it'll be used as clean cover for the landfill materials. But no, I'm not familiar with that company myself.
And Operations, we've never used this company before?
Mr. Brady.
We do not have any experience working with Tervita. As Councillor Wall indicated, this is a relatively simple project which involves loading trucks and unloading trucks, basically.
Councillor Draycott.
Just a question, just given that it requires us to have an environmental impact assessment to complete it the way that we originally anticipated, how often do we do this process? Is that something that we need to budget for in the future going forward?
Yeah, we do this, we do this waste disposal program about every 3 to 4 years. We have 2 ponds that we utilize, and we fill about every 3 to 4 years, and obviously empty the other one.
Any other questions for Councillor Wall? Okay.
I have nothing further, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Transportation Committee, Councillor Draycott.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, nothing this evening for Transportation Committee.
And Public Safety, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have nothing to report this evening.
Okay, thank you. Now, before we adjourn, we're going to have question period. If there's members of the public in the gallery who would like to come up and ask a question of council, we will endeavor to answer those questions for you. So I'll open the mic up. Okay, I'm taking it there's no questions this evening. So before we adjourn, I just want to remind everybody that this is Bike Week number 3 for Portage la Prairie. The Active Transportation Committee has organized activities for every single day of the week. Accumulating with Friday is Ride Your Bike to Work or School Day. So we'd encourage everybody to get out on their bikes and take part in all the activities. This committee has done a lot of work to put this together for us. And with that being said, committee is adjourned at 6:38 p.m.